Our top story here at 5:30 this afternoon.
We will bring it to you just as soon as it does happen.
Don't touch that dial. It's going to be some night. From all the people at KNBC News.
An act of terror in Atlanta early this morning during a concert in the Centennial Olympic Park. There are 2 confirmed dead, more than 100 injuries.
It's just horrific to think what happened in that park with so many people there this evening. It was so exciting. There was a feeling in the air when you set foot in the airport, when you landed there. It was one of the first Olympics that I could remember that we'd done in the States. We had been to Barcelona, we had been to South Korea, but this was Atlanta. It was a way to show off what NBC could do. And we had a full crew. Paul Moyer, Fritz Coleman was there, Fred Rogan was there, Yvonne Guevara was there. We had a full complement of cameramen and engineers and producers and writers. I mean, it was a real feather in your cap to be chosen to go to the Olympics. So everybody wanted to go, and we were spread out all over the city. It was just excitement like you can't even imagine. There were throngs of people. It was a chance to interview all these athletes who, many of them were from Southern California, and it was Atlanta. Who doesn't love Atlanta?
It was awesome. That was probably the most exciting thing of the whole evening.
We would wander out, we'd do stories, we'd interview people, we'd go to some of the exhibits there. It was crowded everywhere, and they had built this whole park that was dedicated to the Olympics, Centennial Park. It had everything.
They've even built a mini Olympic stadium.
It was like the town center is a good way to describe it. There was a stage in the park, and there were concerts on all the time. And we had a studio that overlooked Centennial Park. It was just beneath the stage. We were at least a week in, maybe 6 days in. That wraps it up for us right now, Paul.
Thank you for making us your choice for news at 5 o'clock.
We had done our early broadcast, and that broadcast was done from that studio beneath the stage in Centennial Park. So we really had a window to everything. There was an area off to the side of the park. As you walked out, it was sort of on the right-hand side. And if you were credentialed, you could be there. We were all credentialed. We were out there almost taking a breather. We were listening to the band on stage. It was an LA band, Jack Mack and the Heart Attack. They were on stage, so we were sitting outside. I happened to be there with my husband. We were kind of just people watching and enjoying the evening. It was so hot during the day in Atlanta and so humid that by the time the evenings came around, it was a relief. So we were sitting outside enjoying that. We were pretty close to leaving. I was standing there with my husband and another reporter, and there were a few people in this area, and there was a loud explosion. Wow. It almost moved you back off your feet. That's the thing I think I remember most. It was not necessarily the sound, it was the concussion that I felt in my chest. And I remember looking around and saying, what the hell was that? What was that? And my husband, who was in the military at the time, said, that's a bomb. And we looked at him like, are you kidding me? That's not a bomb. This is Atlanta. Bombs don't go off in Atlanta. He said, that's a bomb. And he was very emphatic about it.
Her all the time. I didn't want to be another person.
And nobody's bothering you, right?
Well,
it just happened so quickly.
I was in a bar just blocked away. The whole building shook for about 15, 20 minutes ago.
And I remember thinking, I've got a 3-year-old who's with my mom. And his mom and dad are here right now, and that kind of scared me to death. I would say we were less than a football field away.
Just stay right back down.
But I want to say we were probably closer than that.
Back up. Everybody back up.
We didn't know the extent of the damage at that time. We could see people scattering. We could see people with shock on their faces. I mean, we had shock on our faces. We just saw a mass of people running away from the blast site.
I was like shocked. I didn't know what it was. I had no idea what it was.
So we started to run out and then realized we needed to tell people in Burbank what was going on. So we ran back in the studio. My husband locked the door, and I remember getting on the computer because that was the only way to communicate. The phone lines were not working. So I was on the computer typing back to Burbank. The executive producer in-house at the time was Wendy Harris, and I'm typing, "There's been an explosion, there was a bomb." And I remember her typing back going, "Calm down." I said, "I'm serious. There was an explosion here, there was a bomb." Then all of a sudden we heard boom, boom, boom. There was pounding on the door, and the security was going, "You need to evacuate, you need to get out of here." Because keep in mind, it was one bomb. We didn't know if there were 2 or 3 or even more than that. So they were trying to get us out of there, and we were trying to be really quiet so they wouldn't know we were there, and we were still hoping to go on the air live from that position. It didn't happen because at that point they got very forceful. They said, "If you don't leave right now, we're going to arrest you." And you could tell from the tone they were serious about it.
They were banging on the door. We tried to keep them out to go on live to tell people what was going on, and we let them in, and they said, out right now.
We had another area. We'd never really broadcast from that area. It was a workspace. All of a sudden, in mass, we were all running to this site. It felt so far at the time, it couldn't have been more than a half a mile. But we took off running, and we got there, and we knew we had to get on the air.
We are now back in Atlanta in our makeshift newsroom here. If you're just tuning in, the FBI has confirmed now that a bomb went off at 1:15 to 1:20 Atlanta time, 10:15 Los Angeles time, in Centennial Park.
Now, we were in the middle of primetime coverage for the Olympics.
We're here to tell you we were just a few feet away from it. Police were notified there was a suspicious package there.
So it took someone from way on high to decide to break into coverage to let people know what was going on. But
Mark Field,
come
you're
here, Mark.
helping us get on the air. Why don't you come over here? You were standing right there. Can you tell us what you saw initially?
we had a photographer who took a picture of the bomb before it went off. Just happened to have a picture, wandering through, taking pictures in the park. Took a picture of like a backpack or a knapsack or something underneath a bench. Realized that's what went off.
I witnessed the explosion because we should actually have a shot of the package. I rolled on earlier.
You were shooting out there.
I was shooting out there. I'm going to tell you, I was 30 to 50 feet. I felt the concussion from the explosion. One of my partners, I don't want to give his name out just in case his family's watching, was hurt. I don't know how seriously hurt he is. It was a big bang. It was at the bottom corner of the mixed tower there, which is the lighting tower.
So then all of a sudden, he wasn't available to us. The network wanted to talk to him. Police wanted to talk to him. The FBI wanted to talk to him. So he was pulled away. Now we were down a person. So I remember one of the producers, Ivan Guevara, looked around and said, "Who can we get to run the camera?" And he looked at my husband and they said, "He flies jets. He flies big planes." So he ran the camera. He says, I zoomed in, I zoomed out. I moved the camera around. Keep in mind, nothing was robotic. We were broadcasting for a very long time, and he was part of the team. 2 days before the opening ceremonies.
I'm Tom Brokaw, NBC News on Long Island. Momentarily, we do expect to hear from President Clinton. He'll be appearing in the White House press briefing room to comment on this overnight tragedy at TWA Flight 800.
More than 100 bodies have now been recovered in a massive search and rescue operation out in the Atlantic off the coast of New York State.
A 747 exploded off the coast of New York.
It is just a horrendous sight. You see debris scattered all over the place. It looks like the plane has just been broken to bits.
We knew that it was bound for France, and the initial thought was that it was terrorism.
There was nothing left but burning jet fuel and debris when rescuers rushed to the impact point offshore.
Now all of a sudden the wheels start turning and you think, wait a minute, there was an explosion with a 747.
The FBI today is still treating this crash like a potential criminal case.
Off the coast of New York just a few days ago, over 200 people died in that.
If it is a terrorist event, we then have the challenge to find out who the perpetrators were.
They were using the word terrorism, and now all of a sudden you've got this. Wow, what's going on here?
No one has claimed responsibility so far. There was a 911 call just about the time of the explosion that is being analyzed.
We didn't know at that time there had been a bomb threat. Less than 20 minutes before the bomb exploded. I don't believe Richard Jewell was necessarily on their radar. That was after the fact. But he was a security guard at the park. That much we do know.
Whether it was a foreign person that bombed it or whether it was a local that bombed it. And my brother and I kind of speculated probably a local that did it. You know, who would you expect? You wouldn't expect a local to do it.
I don't think we'd even heard the term lone wolf in terms of terrorism or homegrown terrorism. If we did, we didn't pay attention to it because it was never on that scale.
I turned and looked over at the fence, and stuff came over top of the fence. Like shards of, I don't know, I couldn't, but there were some long pieces, like very long pieces of metal.
I think people thought it may have been this security guard or someone, but it wasn't overseas terrorism. It was a bomb. I'm going to be careful. It'll never happen to me.
I'm kind of putting it away, hoping that I can just go to work and help out if anyone needs any help.
When you go through something like that, that's what you think about. You tend to put yourself in a position where, what if I'd worked so hard to have a child and he was 3 years old? And if I'd been any closer, it might have been different.
The games will go on. I repeat, the games will go on.
We cannot let terror win. That is not the American way. The Olympics will continue. The games will go on. The Olympic spirit will prevail.
You know, instinctively as a news person, you want to get the information out. And we did that. And I have to tell you, hats off to the team. We did it well that night. Everybody contributed. We got on the air. It was such a unified effort with everyone on the team. I mean, we didn't do it to put it up for an award. We did it because it needed to be done.
The smoke and the flames are incredible, and firefighters are doing what they can so the fire doesn't jump the road.
I feel so badly for the people lost their possessions.